All right, everybody, thank you so much to come out and experience our Grab the Key event here in Charlotte. This is our second Grab the Key event here in Charlotte, and we got some special guests here today. I'm going to introduce our guests here in a second, but first I want to talk about the why. Why are we here today, right? Why are we here? Why are we talking about homeownership in Black and minority communities and why it's important? Guys, there's a gap in homeownership in Black and minority communities. And in Charlotte is 50 out of 50 of the largest MSAs for upward mobility. And we feel up here, as well as Movement Mortgage, other individuals that are here today, we feel that it's very important to bring education and awareness around it so that we can close the homeownership gap in minority communities. It is very important for us to close that gap because homeownership rates have a direct correlation to net worth. And we feel that if we can continue to bring awareness, that we can continue to bring education to it, that we can change. We can have significant change in the world and in America today, right? And I have some special guests, and I'm so pumped. These are some of my homies, y'all. These are some of my homies I have up here with me today. Justin, guys, so I've known Justin, and I actually told the story earlier. It made me feel old the first time. So Justin, I've known him since he was probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 10. We grew up in a similar area in Virginia. Justin moved away, and the first time I seen Justin when he actually came back, I said, man, I remember you when you were like this big, man. And now Justin, he is a safety for the Carolina Panthers. He will tear my head off if I came across the middle and ran a slant. And Justin, a homeowner. Justin is someone that is active in the community, as well as Justin does a lot of cool stuff from an investment Airbnb perspective. Thank you for coming today, my man.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate having you. And our my main man. Roman Harper. It's Super Bowl weekend, right? Super Bowl weekend this weekend. Super Bowl champion. Let me address you properly.
I should have worn my ring.
Super Bowl champion Roman Harper. We're gonna call you a Carolina Panther today.
That's fine. I was here long enough for that.
We're gonna call you a Carolina Panther today. Yes. Roman, active right now, SEC Network, ESPN, homeowner, does some investment stuff, bro. Appreciate having you, man.
Thank you guys for having me as well. Can't wait to hear about Justin's story. I really want to hear more about his work that he's doing. I'm always interested in learning, and also with movement, and always thankful for what you guys do in this community.
Well, I appreciate it. Y'all ready to jump in? Let's do it. All right, so guys, as we think about home ownership from a generational perspective, right? And I know my experience generationally and how that has affected me and how I've looked at home ownership. I would love to hear your generational homeownership story and how that's, affected the way you look at homeownership today for you and your family. So, Justin, if you want to kick it off for us, man, you're right.
I think for me, my mom was institutional in seeing how assets build. We started off, while she was in college, we started off in the project, started off in, moving up to apartments, subsidized housing, things like that. And then she ended up going on to buy her own home. And just seeing that, how she was able to work hard and what she was able to obtain, and just her pride in her ownership and how she, prided herself on owning her own home was big for me.
I love it, man. It's a beautiful thing. And Roman, talk to me a little bit, give me that generational experience for you.
For me personally, it really starts with, both of my parents. And I don't think I really realized how much pride you take into really ownership or owning your own home until you look at it, what's in front of you, like Justin speaking on. My father, he still goes back to this day. Like, he's at his parents' house right now, which they're no longer living, but he takes pride in going back to the house, going back home, and understanding what it is. And, he's still taking care of those things. And that's kind of passed down to myself. My parents, both worked all their lives. So, I grew up in a house in a pretty good situation. And so now seeing, and I take pride in able to go back to the same home that I grew up in, where my bedroom looks the same, and I still got all my things from 3rd grade when I was there. And so you take pride in those things. You understand what it takes, where not everybody as friends can just go back home and lay in a bed where it's nice and warm and comfy. And when you do those things, you pass those traditions down to your kids to where now they want to go to grandma's house. They're not just going to visit, but no, they want to go to grandma's house. And then when they have kids, they want to go see me, right? And they want to go see grandma, and just taking pride in that, understand what it takes to have a house and raising your kids in a structured environment in that way. And you can really just get so much from that. So for me, it started with my parents, seeing them both have houses, going to grandparents' houses, and now taking pride in their own house. And now myself personally having my own house and making sure my kids are growing up in the same type of environment.
No, I love that. It's beautiful, and you guys both touched on that pride and that experience with your parents and seeing that. I had a different experience, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't think I could own a home, right? I grew up in an experience of not being able to see that and thinking, I don't know if I can do that, right? And me and my beautiful wife, I know both of y'all know her. She's crazy as all get out,
1,000%.
And she pushed me, right? She pushed me to say, yes, you can, right? Because I didn't see it. I didn't think it was for me. I didn't know if I could do that. And I'm very thankful for that, for her to say, yes, you can, because, one thing that I think for me, as I look back, and this is going to actually a good transition for us, is the trauma that a lot of people experience. If we think about, and guys, right now today, we are in the movement center, right? We're in the movement center. And this area that we are in, this is C4. JB is here. JB runs C4, which is a counseling organization that helps with trauma. And JB actually was on our very first Grab the Key event in Charlotte, and he helped me understand the trauma that I might have experienced, right? And that a lot of other people experience. We've gone through so many different, you have 2008, where a lot of people of color, black minorities, they seen their homes be taken away from them, right? That's trauma. You keep rewinding back, people that look like us couldn't own homes, right? If you think about that, and it's not that long ago, right? It's not that long ago. And you go even further to coming back from the wars, and we'll learn a little bit more about VA loans later, but a lot of people came back from the wars and they were able to get homes with no money down, right? And all that equity that is built and passed along, didn't have that experience, and consistently being told no. And then you have the Fair Housing Act being passed in the 60s. Dr. King laid a lot of work for us to be able to have that happen. And a lot of people don't know this stat, too. I think it's a very interesting stat for people to know, is that 7 days later after he was assassinated, the Fair Housing Act was passed, right? And so if we just think about all that trauma, that segregation and not being told no for a very long period of time, it's a lot of built up trauma, right? And as we think about that trauma, a lot of people that look like us, black, minority, brown, whatever, they have that trauma experience, right? And so as we unpack that, how do you guys think that we should change the narrative, or how can we help change the narrative for people as they think and deal with the trauma of the experience of their past and what they've seen happen? So Roman, if you want to jump on that one first, man.
Yeah, man, I can speak just on a little personal level. So growing up, how I grew up, I before you can acquire anything in America, you have to have what they call credit or whatever, So my first thing is, I made money before I ever had credit. And, me trying to help my brothers or trying to do some other things, and next they don't make a payment, and now my credit score is dropped. And then how does it feel, talking about a little bit of trauma, and I know it's first world problems, but when I apply for a credit card and I get denied, I'm like, dude, whoa, I got like 7 figures in the bank. Like, how am I getting denied for anything? But it does make you have a sense where now I'm scared to do it again, because I don't want to get told no. Like, it's just like, why do I need to? Why am I maybe a little bit hesitant to do that? Like, do you really want to put yourself out there? For then next they go and they check your stuff again, and every time they check in your score to apply for things, that's not a good look either. So now you're like beating yourself up over and over and over again, where I'm really just trying to do the right thing so I can actually apply and improve on the things that they tell me I need to improve on. And then now you get to a point where you're like, I don't even need it anymore. I just stay where I'm at in my own lane, and I don't really need those things. When really true, honestly, is that you do need those things, because if you have credit and you have the ability to acquire money or any other asset, and you're able to get it out without actually using your own money, like that's where the real sweet spot is. Like that's what they don't teach us in school. That's where they really teach you how to really grow generational wealth. That's how people have been able to stay in front of or stay on top for so long, is because they're not even using their own money anymore. That's where the real sweet spot is. And I know it just hates that, that I've learned it later in the game, but it's just, that's what life is. That's the real American dream, is when you're able to get a house, and that's usually our biggest investment, is our own house. And then using that when we want to sell it or when you want to move on to the next one, acquiring all the equity inside that house and moving on to the next one. So, and continue to do that over and over again, and that's how you pass it down.
Beautiful. Love it. Built-in savings account, right? Making those
that's it.
payments, building equity.
That's how you say it. Built-in
That's it.
savings account.
Love it. What you got?
Well, like both of you said, in order to build generational wealth, we have to, get rid of those generational curses, right? So we have built-in issues within our community. Black people have been marginalized for years on years, going back to, 40 acres and a mule and having that stripped away. Redlining, being subject to ghettos and not being able to get those mortgages that we wanted. Our ancestors weren't able to afford homes. They weren't able to get homes because of laws banning black ownership. Now we have that platform, or we have that ability to kind of change those kind of issues that we've had. I think it's our job to continue to build it forward for the next generation. Continue to, the best way to pass down wealth is through, real estate assets, things that are paid off. Your mom or dad paid off their house, now you acquire it. I think that's the best way that we continue to build this forward and build for the next generation.
I love it. I love it. Get assets, use the bank's money, use Movement Mortgage's money, right? Use our money, get a home, get your equity, and pass it to the next generation, right? It's a powerful message, powerful message. So, guys, as you both homeowners, right? Talk to me about that first decision for the first property that you bought. Like, what was that experience like?
You go ahead. I want to hear about yours.
well, mine was just you coming out of college, going into NFL. I don't know if a lot of you know, but going into the NFL draft, you go into combines, you go into all these things. So just everything that everybody kept harping on was just don't go broke. Don't use all. Don't.
Oh,
spend
it's the
all your
biggest.
money.
It's the biggest thing ever. You
is.
work your whole life to get money, and the first thing to take, don't lose it.
Right.
Don't lose it.
So the first thing I said, I was, man, I got drafted to the Jets, and I was like, I could have got $5,000 penthouse in the city. I was like, you know what? No, I want to go back to Charlotte, where I'm gonna, lay my roots, and I want to get a home. I want to have something that if I play 1, 2, 3 years, I want to be able to have something that I can come back to. Something that once I leave this game, I'll still have something from it.
You didn't go to Raleigh?
Nah, I didn't.
Hey, I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm glad you pointed that out. QC, baby.
Right. Had to come to Charlotte. But yeah, just wanted something that that I could have, that I can own, that pride and ownership, that I could just come back to.
Love it. Came back to the QC too.
Yeah. So for me, it was a little bit differently. I'm originally from Alabama. I was drafted to New Orleans, and I knew I was going to be there at least a couple years. So my financial guy said I should try and find a house. So I looked all around. I had my parents help me out, and I signed a loan. But the thing was, when I look back on it, I should have did a couple things completely different. But the fact that I didn't know, where I was just paying interest rates because I didn't know, the way I signed to set up the mortgage rate was I wasn't actually paying anything down on the house. So I looked up after 2 years, I hadn't paid anything down. I was just paying interest rates. And so then I had to start paying over what I wanted to pay just to be able to knock it down, because then the interest rate's going to go down. So actually being financial literate in these opportunities. So not just signing anything that they give you, and actually understanding what you're trying to get yourself into, and really trying to understand the financial literacy part is what we really miss in all of these meetings so often, is that we really don't understand financially what we're truly doing. Just because we get a check doesn't mean we actually know what we're doing with it. So after I found me a house, I eventually paid off that house, sold it, and now I have, got a couple other things that I did. And my house here in Charlotte, we bought in 2016, and we built a house here. So it's been great. We're in Myers Park. We love the area, and invested smart.
And you got to have a big house because you got a bunch of kids, man.
I do.
You got a whole bunch of kids. And word has it there's a poll everybody in the audience is trying to figure out who's gonna have the fifth kid, me or you.
Oh,
And
it's
I'm
definitely
going
gonna be
with
you. Nah, definitely gonna be you. The biggest difference is that me and my family, we're on the same page with no. Now your house, I don't know if y'all on the same page.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get her there.
Yeah,
we ain't
yeah,
there yet.
exactly.
We on the same page.
We already said she's crazy, so it's all good. We love you, Breeze.
No, but so you guys touched on, when you come into the league, right? They're like, hey, don't lose the money.
Right.
Don't lose the money. There's stats all over, the internet in regards to that of like, NBA players are at, I think, 78%, NFL 60%, where once they leave the league, they have financial stress and issues, right? Mm-hmm. For both of you, I gotta definitely commend you. JB, you already doing some stuff with Airbnb, which we talked about. Roman, you with your career now and all, investments that you've made. With that, everybody telling you guys that, like, what was that experience for you? Because you both, I feel like, on the other side of that, are the statistic in the positive area, right? So talk me through that experience of you hearing that, and then because there's action to that too, right? Mm-hmm. There's the action of like, okay, let me actually learn. Let me start to take action on that. So talk me through that, and JB, you can take that first one. Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, it's not wasting your time. Like right now, playing NFL, it's fun. I love it. It's a game that I grew up playing, but I know I can't do it forever. It's about trying to find that next, I'm 28 years old, is trying to find the next 40, 50 years of the rest of my life, and what am I going to do? How am I going to support my family? How am I going to grow for my kids' kids? How am I going to continue to build for them? And one way that I wanted to do was through Airbnb. And the reason I did that was because I was also building for their future, but I was also building relationships and giving experiences to people who were coming to stay at my homes. Just to give one story, I had a family from Miami come up, Hispanic family come up to Asheville during Christmas. Never seen snow before, and they're like, just having my neighbors call me and tell me like this family from Florida had never seen snow, and they're playing in the middle of the street. They're playing in the snow. My neighbors in Asheville told them or gave them some sleds. They're sliding down the hill, and just that experience that I was giving to them was the reason that I got into Airbnb.
I love it. It's a beautiful story. Mm-hmm. Beautiful story, man.
So I think one of the saddest things when it comes to playing the NFL is that what Justin talked about was that, when you get there, that, you're given this golden egg, right? And they're telling you to like protect it. But, even in the Bible, the Lord talked about how, he gave a couple guys like one token, like, what'd you do with that? You just held on to it. You didn't actually put it in the ground and let it prosper, right? And so when I look back at some of my biggest regrets, it was that I didn't do more while I was in Justin's age, right? When I was 28, I was only thinking about, I'm just trying to be the best player, and I'm just trying to play ball. Like, ball is life. Where actually you could take this time while you're making all this money to actually do things with it and do more with it right now. And one thing that I look back on that I wish I would have did more of when I was playing was that when I was out training in LA, I wish I would have bought the 2 houses that I was in when I was just there for a couple months out of the year, and then actually turned those and rented them when I was not there, and then turned around and sold them 3 or 4 years later and made even more money on. So that was like the mental things that I wish that I would have known more about, or actually not been so scared, because for the moment I got into the league until I was out, that everybody's always telling me about, don't lose your money, don't do this. But actually, if I would have been more financial literate, I would have understood that I got plenty of money in the bank. The bank would have gave me money to buy that house anyways. And so I wouldn't even have to worry about the bottom line in my own account, because the bank's going to pay for it. I'm going to leverage what I got to get more, and then now I got an asset on top of that. And that's where the real money maker's at, is when you actually own an asset. Because when all things hit the fan, like what happened to me in 2008, what you were talking about, because by then, Justin, I've been in the league 2 years. So I had a little bit of money in the bank. And when you look up one day and your bank account is at half, and you don't even understand why, and you're looking at a financial guy that's supposed to be an expert, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And he can't give you anything, because the banks have no idea either. But if I'd have had just wholehearted assets, at least I know I owned something. And all I knew at that time was that I owned a house, and that my bank account was half as much as it was a month ago. So those are some real scary times. But after that, like you said, those are the little bit of wounds and things that trauma that happens to you that makes you aware of those things. And so maybe I was a little bit more conservative because of that. But I just wish that I had this mindset that this young brother has, because at 29, I could have been doing all that. And I wish I would have. That's one of the only regrets I ever have, was that I didn't do more when I'm doing fine, but I wish I would have did more, because then I would have been in a better position. And, the biggest thing with being successful half the time is just you make sure you fail early. Like, you fail early to be able to learn from it, and now you continue to rebound and go.
And you talked about the fear, right? Because I think when you're going in the league, they're also don't lose, don't lose, don't lose, right?
Right.
There's a lot of fear in that of like, oh, hold on, let me take a step back. There's a lot of fear in when you're told no. Like, if the first time you're trying to get credit, no, there's fear. All that fear builds up, and a lot of times it paralyzes us. Right, and we have to get over that fear to take the next steps. There's a quote in a book. The book is "The Child, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse," and it's a book that was written in a manner that if you're 8 or 80, you can get something out of it. And there's a quote in it that where the child is looking at the forest, beyond the trees, and he's like, "I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do as the next step." And the horse says, just take one more step. Just take one more step. Just keep walking. Walk beside me, right? And I'm gonna help you. And I think a lot of times we can be fearful in these financial like times in these financial situations where we don't take those steps, right? And I'm very encouraged by both of you guys taking steps with Airbnb, and you continuously taking steps with your career and investments. We got to keep taking steps. So I say that to say I encourage the folks out there today. Take those steps, right? Take the next step, and so we're gonna end it up here. I want to close it up, and I want you guys, as you think about folks that may be out there listening today, folks that are in the crowd here in the audience today, that maybe don't own a home, that may have that fear, right? What would you tell them as they're thinking about that? Like, what would you tell the audience and the folks out there today as they think about potential home ownership?
I'm just going to say invest in your future. When you rent, you are paying someone else's assets. You are paying for someone else's asset. When you own, you are paying for you're basically paying your own self back. When you put that principal down, that's something you are always going to be able to leverage. That's what we need to do to, like I said, continue to build generational wealth, continue to build our next generation up. It's basically, think of it as playing with Monopoly. Someone starts out with $2,000. Someone starts out with $100. That person with $2,000 is gonna win the game. Has a better percentage to win the game. And I just think that's how we got to look at it. We got to start building for that next generation.
Yeah, I would just say I would say educate yourself and making sure that it's a lot of great decisions out there, and it's always an opportunity out there too. Like, don't always think if I miss this deal, it's not another deal coming. There are always deals out there. You got to be patient. I would continue to educate yourself and just understanding, like, when you own your home, there's no better feeling, and you take better care of that than anything else you have, and it's also your biggest asset going forward. So I would just continue to say educate yourself and going forward, and just understand what Justin just said, that it's going to pave that way for the next generation.
I love it. Guys, I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for doing this with us today. Educate yourself. Take the next step, right? Take the next step. Educate yourselves and believe in yourselves, and assets over liabilities, baby. Assets over liabilities. So
Finance.
Yes.
Finance.
Use the bank. Use movement. Use movement's money. Use movement's money. So I appreciate both of you guys today. Guys, so we have next up my man, Red. My man, Willie. A lot of people know him in the city as Willie Jenkins. If you come to the Panthers game, he is out there. He is the number one fan, number one hype man at the games, and does so much stuff within the community. And my man Red is coming up next. You guys, I appreciate y'all. Let me give you some dap. I'm gonna put the mic down. This is they don't tell you to do this, but I'm gonna put the mic down. All right, where you at, Red? Come on up here. All right, while Red is walking up, everybody, for the folks that are out there today, you guys heard it both from Justin and Roman. guys, like if you're out there today and you're thinking about owning a home, you're not sure. There's 1.8 black millennials out there today that could own a home that don't. There's several people out there that could potentially own a home that don't take the next steps. If you are ready to take those next steps, please reach out to us. You can reach out to myself, Montel Watson, montel.watson@movement.com, Montel3 on Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me anywhere. I have some loan officers popping up with us next after my session here with Red, and you can reach out to them as well. But we can help, whether it's from getting you on track from credit, getting you, if you said, you know what, Montel, like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I can't make my next payment. Like, what are you talking about owning a home? We can get you on a plan there as well, right? So reach out to us. We're happy to help. What's up, baby?
What's up, baby? How you feeling? Appreciate you, man.
I'm great. Man,
Yes, sir.
me and you have been having these conversations for years. So, guys, you heard his intro of Willie Jenkins. You heard his intro of, he does a lot of stuff in the community. Red, for the last 15 years, has been giving out 300 to 500 book bags on the West Side. For the last 15 years, been giving out 300 to 500 turkeys on the West Side. And if y'all see my edge up, for everybody out there to see my edge up, he's got 2 barbershops on the West Side. And I don't go to nobody else other than my man Red, because ain't nobody messing up my line. Ain't nobody messing up my line. And gosh, we've had so many conversations. He's poured back in the community. And Red, as we think about this, you're hearing these conversations today. Me and you've had these conversations. Gosh, man, why do you do what you do and giving back into the community? You do so much. But as you think about it, the conversation that we're having around financial literacy and credit, why do you do that? Why do you give back in that way and think that it's important?
First and foremost, I got to thank God, man. That's why I do what I do. He put me in a position where I can give back. So it's very important for me to give back. And it's just not me. I have a team of people that helps me out as well. When we do give back in the communities for the book bag, the turkey drives, I have a partner also, John, which is the owner of Po' Boys on Freedom. And, so I do have a great team. But why I do this, again, is for the simple fact, I feel like it's important for us to show someone how to act, and that's very important. For us to change someone is to act as. And, when you start to act as, then somebody can actually start to act like. So I just feel like that's very important.
I love it, man. I love it. And dude, you put the action in. It's for the last 20 years. You had a barbershop, 2 barbershops, and your 20-year anniversary is coming up.
Yeah, August 2023, man. It'll be 20 years on the 1610 Ashley Road block of West Side of Charlotte. Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God. And I talked to the most humblest guy. Like, I talked to this guy, and he's sitting there like, oh yeah, my 20-year anniversary. He's like, well, what you gonna do? He's like, oh man, I can't. I don't like to show out and show people. I was like, bro, this the community. You have been a huge part of the community, and as the community has changed on the West Side, right? There's a lot of money that's been poured out on the West Side, and with all of that change, why do you think it's important for individuals to own homes here on the West Side?
I definitely think it's very important here on the West Side. I'm actually from Charlotte, born and raised here on the West Side of Charlotte. My value has really went up a lot, and it's very important to own a home anywhere. I'm a firm believer. As soon as you get in your mindset that you have to take care of your overhead where you live at, I encourage go straight into home ownership. I hear a lot of people say wait and rent, and then wait till you get in position, but I don't agree with that. I believe as soon as you know you have to start paying for your way of living, go straight into home ownership if you can. And again, I know it's a process and there's things you have to do to get to that level, but to think on that level is very important. You have to think on the level of where you want to be. And, so it's very important on this West Side of Charlotte. I've been blessed to own a home also on the West Side of Charlotte and a piece of commercial property. And this value of this side of town has went up tremendously. So if anybody does own a home on the West Side of Charlotte, I encourage before selling it, before you sell it, understand the money that you're going to get, you won't be able to get back in this market. Like, really know where you at, understand where you at. And, we really have grown a lot. I bought my first home when I was 22 years old. It was a foreclosure home. I bought it for about $75,000. I got in again, man. Credit very important. Like the brother said earlier, man, credit is very, very important. And I was blessed to be able to have a mother who educated me about credit and also allowed me to be a part of her credit line. You know, so when I was up of age, I was in position. You know, so again, having this type of knowledge and information to understand, you know, and I'm also a believer. I don't believe in no. I do not believe in no. I do not. You cannot believe in no when you want something, especially when you believe you deserve something. And when you believe you deserve something, when you hear no, you got to believe it's a yes behind it. So, you know, you just got to stay focused with that. So it's definitely important to buy a home and to get a home, especially on the west side and anywhere. But this west side, Charlotte, man, it's really grown a lot, man. It's bubbling a lot. Yeah. It is.
Tons of opportunity for individuals. And, man, I like not believing in no. And that's a powerful statement. That's a statement I truly believe in. But I got corrected, as you heard my story earlier, by my wife, right? It was like, no, I don't think I can do that. The fear of like, nah. But the power and the mindset of understanding that there is a yes for you out there, and that you might have to put in that work.
Got to.
You might have to get your credit right.
That's right.
Might have to save a little bit.
That's right.
But there's a yes behind it.
It's a yes there.
It's a yes right behind it, man.
Yes,
so
sir.
I love that. That's beautiful. So, man, I sat in a chair just like this for a long time. Man, it's been a decade. I mean, we've been together for a decade.
Long time.
And I know it's been thousands of people that have come through your shop that you've touched, and many stories of people that have come. I have a story of, I remember it was a Saturday morning, and we're in there, and, you know, we're cutting, and as a gentleman came in, and we were just talking through credit and talking through that experience. And there were so many small things that in my mind, over my experience, I'm like, oh, this is like normal information and knowledge. But it's not, right? And it's not. And that's a big reason of why we're doing this today, is to share that information and that knowledge around credit, around opportunity, around the yes behind the no. Right. Talk to me about that experience over 20 years of having individuals come in and you speaking, because this dude speaks life. Y'all heard him already. He speaks life into people. Speaking life into people and hearing the different stories about financial stories, just different life stories, and just unpack that for me, man. I know that's just been an amazing experience.
Right. I mean, I don't even know where to begin on that. I mean, I've been blessed to be able to, you know, touch the crowns of men, women, kids' heads, man, for 20 years. I had to ask God. I said, God, what you got me here for? I listen to these football players up here. I was one of them guys as far as had full scholarships to play football, but I drew my barbershop when I was in 12th grade, and I stayed focused with that. And I asked God one day. I said, man, what you got me in here for? Man, you really got me in this barbershop? Man, I'm an athlete. I want to do this, but yeah, I drew this up. He said, well, listen here, understand the position I put you in. He said, I put you in a position to touch the crowns of people's heads. He said, I need you to speak life. So I said, wow. I started realizing, I say, well, God, you definitely got me in a great position. So now I started hearing and understanding from my community the things that they need. And what I realized is the biggest piece is the encouragement to say you can do it. You can be you and you can be great. So I believe in that message. It's so many stories. I can't even unpack one. I just know everybody that sat in my chair has encouraged me to believe that we can go get it, that we can make it happen, we can make it possible. The best thing to do is understanding yourself. Is to find yourself, find those things that you really truly want. Because I understand in life sometimes we look outside our pictures and we see what they have, what she has, they have, and we lose sight of what we want. When we find out what we want and who we are, then we'll start to understand the things that we need to know. We don't need to know it all. We need to know what God has for us to know so we can do our purpose, so we can live our journey, so we can do the things that we need to do to touch folks. You know, so that's what I believe in. I just been in a position to be able to hear so much and hear my community that wants more. That I understand that why they're in the position they're in because of years ago, it wasn't set up for them to win. So now we're here in a new position. And guess what? It's still set up for us to win now, but it's still some policies and procedures that we got to break through that was set then. And see, that's the type of energy I am. I get passionate because it's some things I went through. I struggle. I got no's. You know, it happens that way. But again, I believe in my yes. I believe it's got to happen. You know, so that being said, man, there's so many things that's been encouraged to me in the shop. And just for me understanding myself and understanding my journey has been so important. You know, I've been blessed to also be around, you know, NFL players a lot. I'm in that journey, man. God rest his soul, Chris Henry. You know, he was my brother-in-law, man. That he passed on. But I remember now looking at it, the position God put me in. His mother and family, hey, won't you help manage this young man? Help him on his journey. Meet his agent. I'm young, man. Y'all got to realize I was young. I'm still young. I ain't but 38, 39. God let me see it Thursday. So I say that to say I've been blessed to see so much. And when I heard brother say, man, I don't know why I just didn't go get a house knowing I'm going to live there or practice there. I say that all the time. It don't make sense to me. If you know that you have a financial ability to travel around the world and about to go rent something that you're going to put some time in, why not buy and purchase it and turn into the person that's going to rent it to the next person? Not to necessarily keep him there, but to educate him while he's there. Hey, listen, you know you need to get yourself together and come on up. And that's the whole key to it. So, you know, it's very encouraging to me to not only, yes, it's good for us to buy on investments. It's good for us to get into a position that we can rent. But I want to get in more into the transitional. Let's help folks. You know, educational piece. You know, let's really let them see. Our generation has been taught so long that rent. All we see is rental properties for our generation of people. We got to start breaking that. People come into our neighborhoods and give us these numbers and ask us for cash offers and things like that. Like that's to do what? What are we doing with this cash offer? You got a plan? You want to go buy another house, which is fine if that's your goal. But again, understand your plan, understand what you're doing it for. And another thing, when we have kids and we're blessed to have that, like, yeah, let's set it up for our kids. Let's educate them. Let's teach them. Let's show them the right things that we should do. It's a lot of things that I was blessed to be able to see. My mother's white. My father's black. I was blessed to see both sides. I'm not here on no color journey. I've never been that guy. Oh, we here for the black, we here for the white. Oh, I don't know what y'all talking about. We godly people. We all here as one. That's how I live. I don't know nothing about all that. So I'm just saying that to say, man, we can help educate each other. I don't care what color they are. Let's talk to them. Because it's the environment that we're in that we're help changing. It's not the color of our skin. We know where we come from. We in here.
It's beautiful.
We in here. So I just say that to say, you know, as we grow and as we continue to build one another, let's encourage not only by the distance. See, this is a distance to me. He knows how I am. I'm passionate. It's too far from me. We got to get a little bit closer. I want somebody to hold my hand. Hold my hand a little bit. Walk with me. Walk with me just a little bit. Yeah, I heard these guys' stories. It sound good, man. Man, you way up there on TV somewhere. No, man, come and hold my hand. What you say, what you do? So I hope and encourage that once you get there, hold somebody's hand, because they holding somebody's hand too. I understand that. But I want us to get a little bit closer. Just a little bit closer. Just a little bit closer. When you see somebody need some help them out a little bit. Old folks, y'all, we got the mask on now. We don't even talk to each other no more. We don't hug. We don't do any of this. We distance. We got to start speaking. We got to start loving on one another. Once we know something, don't make them work too hard for it. They don't work hard enough. Help them. Talk to them. Well, I'm going to see how he do. I went through this myself. No, that ain't how it work. If God gave you something that you can help that person right there at that moment, help them. Now, again, sometimes you can help them too fast, and I'm going to believe in that. But still, at the same token, when they are at your presence and they got the right question, give them the right answer. Give it to them. Educate. But let me go and stop talking. You see, I start preaching up here now. I get on up in here, man. I get up in. Hey, look, I just want to introduce myself because a lot of people say Red and all this right here. My real name is Willis Drone Jr. I'm born and raised right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I go by Big Red the Voice. That stands for Believe in God Ready Every Day. My character, Willie Jenkins, is an alter ego that I have created over the last 6 to 8 years due to my best friend, one of my close friends who committed suicide on Father's Day. He used to call me and my father this name, Willie Jenkins. So what I've done is created this character to go to all the arenas in the games to show the world it's never too late to live your dream, no matter how old you are. And when he walks around, he encourages everybody to be you and be great. So I say that to say as we grow this nonprofit, which is Be You and Be Great, this is a nonprofit that gets to show through video, through TV, through cartoon books, through all this media. So when you see this old man at the game pumping and showing the world to just, hey, I love the Panthers, it's bigger than all that. It's bigger than this. When he goes to the Hornets game, it's bigger than just this. I want to encourage those that you can be there. And eventually, God willing, we're going to have a bus. We're going to take our kids. We're going to take our kids to the arena. And we're not going to sit at the top of the arena. Our kids going to sit a little bit closer. And we get a little closer to the arena, we're going to get to go after the game and know it's bigger than the football player, the basketball player. You got other people in this building just in case you just don't become him or her. It's something greater than that. So I say that to say, God willing, man, we're going to be able to touch and show things around the world in a different realm, a different form. So I thank everybody here. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, bro, because you know I'm passionate. I've been wanting to do this with you for so long.
I love it. We're here now.
We here now, baby.
We here now.
We in here like
We in
swimwear, baby. We tight. Yes, sir.
My man.
And I love this. Appreciate this, baby.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, man, y'all see, this is what I've been getting for the last 10 years, and I'm blessed to get it. Blessed to get it. He speaks life into you, and he's passionate, and I love every second about it. And the some of the things I love the most is that he challenges you. He challenges you, man. He like introspective of like, come down here and hold that hand, right? Come down here and hold a hand. There's more. We could do more. We could do more, right? And, man, I love it. I appreciate it. I love everything you've done for me. I love everything you've done for this community on the west side here in Charlotte. Thank you, my man. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all, man.
All right, guys, we are going to our next folks. These are our movement loan officers. Chris, you guys come on up. Come on up. Come on up here. We got Reggie, Chris, and Josh. What's up, gents? I'm great. I love you. We got the movement gear on. Got to represent. Got to represent. I love it. I love it. So, guys, we're going to close up with a loan officer panel. This is where we're going to get into a little bit of the meat and potatoes, so to speak, right? And I'm excited for this part to break down a lot of the misconceptions. You've heard us talk about credit. You heard us talk about different things, in regards to utilizing the bank's money. Man, let's jump into, why do you guys think? We're going to jump right on into it. Right? But all of you guys have been in the mortgage industry for quite some time, right? Chris, you've been with Movement for some time. Reggie, you've been with Movement for a few years, but been in the industry, 20 years or so? 20 years. By the way, before we jump in, I gotta give Reggie some props, man. Reggie rolled up to the event today with a Georgia Bulldog sweatshirt on. Knowing that Justin, NC State, and Roman is Bama. Straight from Roll Tide, Bama. I said, man, Reggie, that takes a lot to roll up here to Georgia Bulldog shirt on. But Josh, a military vet, as well as a loan officer for some time. And Josh also gets the privilege to go to Red's shop as well. Red is another thing. He is a connector. And, you've got the experience with Red over the last few years as well. But, guys, let's jump into it. Why do you think that owning a home is important? And you can go ahead and take it first, Josh. We can roll it around. Yep.
Well, to me, honestly, it creates generational wealth in more ways than one. That's the simplest thing. I think of safety, I think of stability, and I think of serenity. Those three, to me, are the most important things, and that owning a home creates that breeding ground for success in that.
Yeah, I'm a simple man, and if as an adult I need a roof over my head, I should own it. Home ownership started in my family back in Liberty, Mississippi, back in 1910. A house was bought on an old pepper and cucumber farm, and to this day, that house is in our family. That house has been used to put kids through college, start businesses, and I plan on passing it down to my kids. And just having that education. In my house, I came from an old school household where we didn't talk about money. That's grown folks' business. Don't worry about that. I didn't learn about money and credit until 20, 25, and, had to learn it the hard way a little bit, And I never say that you're losing, you're either losing or you're learning, right? You're not losing, but you're learning, And just taking those experiences and, when I got my first house, it was the biggest accomplishment I had ever had. Most people, that's the largest financial transaction they'll do in their lives, purchasing a home. It really is. And You know, it's a part of the American dream, and I'm just, you know, when someone gives me the privilege to help them along with that, it just really does a lot for my soul. So,
Love it. 1910?
it was bought in 1910, Liberty, Mississippi.
Wow. That's amazing, man. That's a beautiful thing.
That's
Go ahead, Chris.
a long time.
A long time.
That's a long time. You know, I would say that from a financial perspective, right, when we're talking about paying rent, right, we've heard a lot about paying rent versus owning a home, right? That equity that you're building is yours, right? When we talk about generational wealth and passing something on, it's something that you're going to build, because when you pay down on that loan, that money that you're building up in there, that's your own, right? That's what you get back when you turn around and you sell that house, right? Rent doesn't do that, right? You're building this on top of the fact that we've got 387 homes available in Mecklenburg County for sale right now. I mean, it's low. And it causes homes to appreciate in value. And guess what that does when you own a home? When you go and sell that home, right? It's creating an additional stream of income. It's adding that. And so when you go and you want something, right, it's kind of that rainy day fund that ends up being there. So I would say that when we talk about generational wealth, it's just about building an additional asset that's there for you when you need it.
No, thank you, each and every one of you, on that. And as we talk about generational wealth and the wealth gap, right? There's a stat that is out there. The average for the average black household, the average net worth is $17,000. $17,000, right? And comparatively to the non-Hispanic white household, 175, right? 175. And so as we talk about that wealth gap and why it's important to own homes, that's why we're talking about it, right? Is to close that gap and that opportunity. You also, so Chris, you talked about the barriers, right? The barriers of that 300. What was the stat again? 300. How many?
387.
387 homes in Mecklenburg County right now. So can we unpack a lot of the barriers that are out there today and some different ways and strategies that we can kind of help overcome them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that, and I'll let Josh kind of speak on this a little bit as well, but you're looking at income, right? That's going to be a big portion. There's a lot of different streams of income that are out there, and we can talk a little bit about those. Assets being your savings account, different ways that you can save, because one of the things we want to unpack here, right, is a mortgage. We talk about getting a loan and home ownership. Understand that, when we hear from NFL players, right, is they're paid and rewarded for their aggression, right? That's not the way to approach the real estate market, because a mortgage cannot mask money problems, right? You need to understand how to build habitual changes, how to build a foundation, a strong foundation that's out there, and we'll talk about that as well. But there's a lot that goes into it. But Josh, you want to talk a little bit about income?
I appreciate that. Yeah, income. I mean, the best thing about a mortgage is that it's not. You don't have to just think about your common 9 to 5 as your only source of income. I mean, side hustles and other sources of income are definitely allowed to be used for that. I mean, I remember, how many of us have ever worked a other job besides their 9 to 5? 2 jobs at once? I remember when I first started in the mortgage industry, I was working 3 different jobs, and that was not fun. But I'm glad I did it, and it really worked out well. And I look back at the other barrier I really think about is going to be savings. And honestly, the first thing I can think about is start with a good emergency savings plan. Nice $1,000. Call that your peace of mind savings. So when you're out there saving for the future, for the next purchase, for your home purchase, you have that peace of mind knowing that, okay, something happens, I don't have to worry. I have that emergency savings. That's what it's there for. That's the first place to start. Now, when it comes to credit, Chris is going to talk about credit in a little bit, but The biggest thing you want to be is aware of your credit. More than anything else is always be aware of your credit. That's the biggest hurdle you're ever going to come across. Now, and I'm sorry, and I want to finish up with income. When it comes to income, using those second jobs or part-time jobs, or even if you're self-employed, we're typically going to look at a 2-year history. So that's very important to understand when you're, besides using that 9-to-5 W-2 employment, that second job part-time, or maybe if you're using variable income like overtime or commission or any bonus, 2-year history is really key, and that's a really big important thing.
Yeah, I think thank you for touching on that 2-year history, right? There's so many little small but big items, right, when you're thinking about and approaching getting a home and a mortgage. And you touched on some of the credit stuff, and we heard a little bit of the credit stuff earlier, and I have my great credit story of not necessarily mine, but some of my friends. I'm not going to mention their names. Because we got a live stream going. But some of my buddies, early on in college, they wanted to go get Xboxes and TVs and all this stuff, go to Best Buy, buy a whole bunch of stuff on the Best Buy card. They're like, man, this is 0%. 0% for 18. I'll pay this thing off. Pay it off. It's cool. That time frame came when that 18% was up. And all that interest that they didn't pay, because they didn't pay it off, right? Because that's the hook. Come on, get it. You ain't going to pay it off. Just come on, get this money. All that interest that had built up had hit them, right? And then it's like, oh, well, that's even more money I got to pay with the higher interest rate. And now I can't make the payments. And now my credit is getting hit. So, yeah, man, your credit, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that and unpack that, but your credit, your income, that 2-year history, all important factors when you're thinking about owning a home. And, gosh, I love when you talked about savings, right? There's not only the aspect of saving, to help yourself prepare for the home, but to keep you in the home, right? We want to help you get into the home, but also we want to make sure that you stay in the home. We want to make sure that we don't have another 2008 that happens, and then when something comes up for you and you can't make those payments. We want to make sure that we all not only help you get into the home, but also help you save to stay in it too. So, misconceptions. There's a lot of misconceptions out there today, guys. A lot of misconceptions when it comes to getting a loan and getting a mortgage. 20% down. You need 20% down, right? No, you do not. Talk to me about the 20% down misconception and also some options around that, right, on that 20% down misconception.
Yeah, that's such a common misconception. I hear it virtually every day. I know these guys hear it every day. And it, not only is it probably not needed, it's probably not even the most common option that we run into, right? So when we're looking at, you mentioned a VA loan for our active duty and military families, right? What we're looking at there is that starts at 0% down. Same with a USDA loan, right? And what people misunderstand with a USDA loan is, I got to go live out in the boonies. Not understanding that about 91% of North Carolina is USDA territory. About 90% of South Carolina, right across the border here, is USDA territory, including what we would consider suburban areas. About half of Fort Mill, South Carolina, is USDA territory. I mean, that you can't get much closer. Part of Gaston County, right? So then you've got FHA loans with 3.5% down and conventional loans that start at 3% down, and that doesn't even touch the fact that there's so many different down payment assistance options out there. And Montel, I love myself some down payment assistance.
You're the DPA guy. You're the guy. You're the man.
I do a lot of them, and I really, because Red mentioned something that just hit home for me, which is it's not yes or no. You can't have no. See, what's deeply ingrained inside of me is yes or how do we get you there? And what I want people to understand is we've all heard no. We've all heard no a lot in our lives, and we don't need to hear it because there's options out there. You just need to build the habits, right? So if it takes a plan, if it takes building a roadmap, then that's what we're going to do. But see, I'll give you an example, right? Here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and most states have state bond programs that you can access And you got to read the rules of the road, because even if you're not a first-time home buyer, you may still qualify for down payment assistance. And some people don't think that. Some people don't understand that. North Carolina Housing has options for first-time and non-first-time home buyers. But for example, let's say you access North Carolina Housing through Movement Mortgage, and that gives you $8,000 in down payment assistance. Well, what I like to do is also look at it, right? There's additional options out there that can be added on to it, right? I saw Red's eyes light up the day we first met when I started talking about Community Partners Loan Pool, which can add on to North Carolina Housing and give up to 20% down payment, up to $30,000. And if you're buying in the city of Charlotte and you tack on House Charlotte and they access another $10,000, we're already up to $48,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. And of course, there's different rules and, income levels and purchase price, sales price levels that you got to meet. But it's about engaging in the conversation and understanding that there's an option there. So no, 20% down is far from reality of where we are.
There's options.
There's definitely options.
Down payment assistance, stacking. Like I love that. Like whenever we've had this conversation, and guys, I have a team of loan officers, and anytime a down payment assistance comes up, we send it to this guy. He is the down payment assistance guy. He is the man. And then the VA options, FHA, convention. There's so many different options out there. We just want to make sure that people out there today are educated on it. And if you're not educated, reach out. Reach out. We're happy to help. Let's stay on misconceptions, guys. Credit. Got to have perfect credit. You have to have perfect credit to get a loan, right?
No, absolutely. You do not have to have perfect credit.
Walk me through it, Ray.
So usually at a minimum, we like a 620. Okay. Now, what is a credit score? A credit score is basically a measurement of risk. The higher your credit score, the less riskier as a borrower you are. The lower your credit score, the higher risk of borrowing, and then you may have a higher interest rate to offset that risk. With certain compensating factors, you can have anywhere between a 580 minimum and a 620. Okay, you may need extra reserves or a little bit larger of a down payment, but it is possible. But you can have some blemishes. There could have been possible past bankruptcy, short sales, things of that nature. We understand that people have been through different situations, and you can start at a minimum of a 620. And usually that's an FHA program. And FHA is a great product. It allows for a little bit more flexibility in terms of financial situations. So,
love it. You go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to tack onto that for a second, right? Is when you hear Reggie speaking, right, it's important to understand about credit, where you're looking at your credit, right? Where can you go to monitor that credit, right? Because we all know we've got, anybody using Credit Karma? Okay. Anybody using annualcreditreport.com? Anybody using, you don't have to raise your hand, but there's a lot of options out there. You got a credit card, you got a bank account. Everybody wants to publish your credit these days. And every one of them is different. And so when you call the mortgage company, when you call Movement Mortgage, when you talk to Reggie, Josh, myself, you're going to get a different score. And then all of a sudden you're going to say, well, what happened? Why is it different? Here's the reality, right? There is a different algorithm that's used for a mortgage score. See, years and years ago when they came out with the FICO score, right, people say, oh, look, I'm looking at my FICO score. Well, see, banks these days oftentimes will use what's called a FICO 8 score. Mortgage score is way outdated. We use what's called a FICO 2.0 score. So different weighting factors are used. And then the credit bureaus came together and created the Vantage score. So it gives you another different model, how it handles disputes, how it handles different things that are on your credit. And so when you come to us, we got to tell you different things to do with your credit. And so what I'll speak to on that is 35% of your credit is made up by making your payments on time.
Make those payments.
Making your payments
Make
on
those
time.
payments.
30% of your credit is by keeping your balance low. Well, how low? 30% typically ends up being a good balance. So if you've got a $1,000 limit, you keep it under $300. 10% balance compared to your limit is even better. The minute you start increasing that above 30%, you can start losing points. Sometimes up to 100 points on your credit score just by doing that.
So, Chris, if I have a credit card and I go put that TV on there, right? Go back to that TV, $1,000 of that. If I get it under $300 down to or $100, that's a better place for you to be from a credit perspective.
It's,
Credit
it's a better place
better
to be.
place.
Yeah.
Credit utilization.
Yeah, if
right?
we don't have to carry the interest, don't carry the interest. But, you know, it certainly would be a better place to be is showing that utilization. The other thing is, that's, you know, what I just gave you, that's 65% of your credit score right there, right? The majority of it made up just by those two things, keeping your balance low and making the payment on time. See, we have credit simulators that we can use too as well. So when you think about, am I ready yet? Am I not ready yet? If you're on the border there and you're thinking through it, call us, talk to us, because we can run credit simulators and say, what happens to your credit score if you change that balance down below 30%? We talked about, somebody mentioned, I think it was Roman, well, I had my income coming before I had my credit, right? And that's not uncommon for a lot of us. So have that conversation so we can help guide you in what impacts your mortgage score.
Love it. Love it. All right, so we talked about the misconceptions, right? We talked about income. We talked about down payment. Talked about credit. One of the most important folks in the process is the real estate agent, right? And hey, we appreciate our real estate agents out there. We love y'all. Agents help us make the world go round in this whole entire process. Talk to me about, someone is out there that they're like, okay, I may take that next step, right? How do they pick an agent? Like, what's the process? What are good factors or characteristics of a good agent?
I would say the number one thing is communication, and communicating with you about the nature of the market. If given Charlotte Mecklenburg's market right now, I need somebody who knows this market, has some experience inside and out. Right now in Charlotte, it's a seller's market. 2 million people in our metro area. There are 387 homes for sale. That's some serious competition per house. And an agent that can set you up for success, educate you on, you know, what will make your offer the strongest, and why would a seller want to take your offer, and what's going to go into it, and, you know, what you need to be prepared for. Preparing you for, you know, the competition that's out there. And then communicating and making sure that you're getting your questions answered in a reasonable, timely fashion so that you can make an informed decision. Because in this market, you don't have time to go home and think about it and pray about it and sleep on it. The house is gone, right? And if your agent is preparing you for that and telling you, and you're listening to your agent, you stand to have more success in that process than if you didn't.
I love it.
So.
Communication. And I would even, you know, when you're thinking about a loan officer as well, right?
Same thing.
Communication and educating you on what your options are, what next steps are, et cetera, right? All right. I asked our other gentleman, our other panelists earlier, as we think about this, right? And we have folks out there today. That have listened in, and, you know, also everybody share this on Facebook. Share this out. We want this message to get out to more and more people. We want home ownership to be available for all people, right? So share this message out. But as we think about this, there's somebody out there, they don't know, right? Their credit's been dinged up. They think they need 20% down. I can't. They're in that place right now today. What would you guys say to them to tell them to take that first step to own a home? Josh, you can start us off.
I would say plan, and then plan some more. You never want to rush into a mortgage. It's your biggest purchase of your life. but it's also the most important purchase of your life. So think about it, plan ahead, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. I would definitely first start with emergency savings, like I said before, but start asking family. You know, your family's actually allowed to give you a gift towards your down payment, and that creates generational wealth in more ways than one right there. So ask your family before you're starting to purchase, hey, I'm thinking about purchasing the next few years. Maybe instead of that wedding gift, or maybe, you know, reach out to your favorite uncle who got that extra money and say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a few years, or how you doing? Or is that Christmas present? I'm about to buy a home next year. Maybe you can give me.
Come off that, player. Come give me some of that.
I mean,
Come give me some of that.
Hey,
I'm
there's
about to
nothing wrong
buy a
with that.
house. Come on, throw that over here.
That's generational wealth. That's your family right there. I mean, and how I look at it is start the savings, start the benefit, the habits now. You know, resist the urge to splurge. It's a good quote, right? Just basic. You have to start those habits now. And like Chris said, you know, you definitely want to check your credit. Annualcreditreport.com. An annual review of your credit is probably the most important thing anybody who has credit can ever do, is be in control of your credit. Don't let it control you, okay? Now, as far as income, you definitely want to review your past 2 years, either your tax returns or your W-2s. Look at that, because that's the numbers we're going to be using. So if you say, I made $80,000, but half of that is commission or bonus, we're going to look at that $80,000 a little bit differently than you are. So just keep in mind, look at your past 2 years, and if you are self-employed, definitely want to get with your tax advisor as soon as possible and let them know, hey, I am looking to purchase a house in the next few years. Let's work on a game plan.
Prep, take the next steps. I love it. Reggie, what you got?
Yeah, definitely the mindset. A lot of my clients are first-time homeowners, and I tell each one of them, millions of people buy homes every year. Millions. There's no reason you can't too. Okay? You need 3 things: a job, okay, decent credit, and savings. Okay? If we have those 3 things, we have a loan. Okay? In the U.S. economy, 25 to 30% of our economy is based on home ownership, building home. When you build a house, so many jobs come out of that. You need a roofer, a landscaper, painter, plumber, electrician, flooring. There's not another entity where more jobs go into that enterprise than a house. Okay? When you buy appliances, somebody has to build the appliances. Those are jobs. Makes the world go round. It's the stick that stirs the coffee in the U.S. economy. I don't think people understand why it's so important. Okay? And the place that we have in helping people achieve that home ownership. And you can do it. One foot in front of the other. Everybody's situation is a little bit different. But having that plan, right? Stable employment. And it all is undergirded by income. I know we kind of harped on that because income is how you're going to pay the note. Income is how you save. Income is how you pay your current bills to increase your credit, right? I mean, you know, so just being up on that and stability of income. Past 2 years, you know, some in the African American community, the income has been affected by the pandemic for whatever reason. Some people, you know, got sick. Some people had to go take care of a parent. Some people, for whatever reason, okay? And your credit usually dovetails with your income. If your income is stable, your credit will be stable. If you have the money, you're going to pay your bills, okay? But when there are obstacles with income, it's usually reflected on the credit because people get into a place where they got to take from Peter to pay Paul. You know, and that can be common in working through that. Now, if you have a little bit of savings to kind of hold you over till you get back up on your feet, that's helpful, but that's not everybody's situation. So just being cognizant of that and helping them through. So,
Love it. Bring us home, Chris.
You know, I think there's a couple things I want to hit here. One, when we talk about planning, specifically back on savings, and you talk about income, if anybody went to Starbucks this morning and you paid $10 for your coffee or your sandwich or whatever you had, egg whites, whatever they are, man, whatever you want to do, Josh. That $10, if you do that habit every day, we talk about building habits. When you spend $10 every day over the course of a year, that's $3,652. Now multiply that by 2 years. Or imagine Starbucks is just breakfast. And then you went out to lunch. And then you had date night.
Valentine's Day coming up.
Valentine's Day.
Might want to keep that
Sup-
date night.
Super Bowl
Might wanna
party.
Keep that date night.
Whatever it is, right? But that adds up. I just quoted you $3,652. Well, 3% down on a $300,000 house is $9,000. That means you could spend less than 3 years building that asset just by stopping spending $10. That's the power of money, how you make your money work for you.
Yes.
Right? Make it work for you. That's where I would go with this. And then I spent some time at a North Carolina Association of Realtors event several years back, and there was a motivational speaker there, and he gave his speech on a unicycle. And he said, anybody here ever ridden a unicycle? And I don't know that anybody raised their hand. Has anybody rode a unicycle here? No way. Wow.
I think Roman might have rode one too one time. I might have seen it.
Don't put him out there. Don't put him out there. He won't admit to it.
He won't admit to it.
That means yes. I didn't hear a no. So, but what he said was, do you know how to make a unicycle go forward? And you got to lean in. And so what I would say is, if you're scared, if you're fearful, you're on that unicycle. See, if you just keep sitting there on the unicycle and you never lean in, you're going to stay in the same place and you're never going to know how far you can go. You're never going to know how far you can take it. So lean into this opportunity. Lean into the conversation. Let's just start the conversation and see where it goes, because with us, it's yes or how do we get you there?
I love it. Yes, or how do we get you there, right? Guys, thank you. Thank each and every one of you. Thank our guests, our earlier panel, amazing individuals. Thank everybody out there that's in our crowd here today. I know some of you guys watching cannot see them, but thank you everybody that came in here and spent some time with us today. Thank you everybody that is online. We appreciate y'all. Like I said earlier, share this message out. We want to get this message to everyone out there. We want homeownership to be available for everyone. And man, as I think about that, as I think about what I want to tell everybody out there, take that next step. Take the next step. Lean in. Lean in on the unicycle. I love that. I love that analogy. Lean in on the unicycle. Take the next step. Don't accept the no. Do not accept no. You guys heard that earlier with Red. And it's possible. I want everybody to know that it's possible. I didn't think it was possible for me. I'm on my third home. Homeownership has changed my life. It will continue to change my family's life. I will pass it on to my kids and set my kids up and their kids. Because I think that it's something that can absolutely change people's lives. So as everybody's out there today, thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you. Take the next step. Thank you.